Imagine a young king stricken with leprosy, but with an iron will that made him remembered as one of the greatest defenders of the Holy Land. Now join him with the most famous order of knights of the Middle Ages, the Templars, warrior monks sworn to protect Jerusalem. This alliance between Baldwin IV of Jerusalem and the Order of the Poor Fellow Soldiers of Christ and of the Temple of Solomon would shape the fate of the Latin East in the 12th century. In today's episode, we will dive into the complex, strategic, and above all, vital relationship that united the young leprous king with the legendary Templar Knights. How did Baldwin use the military strength of the order in critical moments? And how did the Templars view the leadership of a king who, despite his disease, refused to be a decorative piece on the chessboard of the Crusades? Stay with us until the end, because we will reveal impressive details about battles, alliances, and also the spiritual dilemmas that surrounded this political and religious friendship. Get ready to discover a fascinating and little explored chapter of medieval history. In the 12th century, the Latin Kingdom of Jerusalem was a fragile Christian stronghold carved amid rising Muslim powers. Founded after the First Crusade, the kingdom relied on the military strength of religious orders such as the Templars and the Hospitallers for its defense. Baldwin, crowned in 1174, faced not only external enemies like Saladin, but also internal instabilities caused by political disputes and his incurable disease. In this scenario, the Templars became more than military allies. They were fundamental pillars in the protection of the kingdom and Baldwin's own throne. The relationship between Baldwin and the Order of the Templars was built from the beginning of his reign. The young king, aware of his debilitating physical condition, understood that only with solid military support could he maintain the stability of the Kingdom of Jerusalem. The Templars, with their vow of poverty and dedication to holy war, became indispensable allies. Since his coronation in 1174, Baldwin entrusted the Templars with critical missions. They not only protected pilgrimage routes and strategic fortresses, but also served as the king's personal guard during movements throughout the kingdom. In times of crisis, the Templars acted as the vanguard of his forces, ready to face any external threat. The most striking episode of this alliance occurred in 1177 at the Battle of Montgisard. Saladin, confident after successful campaigns, invaded Christian territory with a large army. Baldwin, then only 16 years old and already severely affected by leprosy, hastily assembled an army, counting on the crucial support of the Templars. Under the command of Master Eudes of Saint-Amand, the Templar Knights joined the royal forces and the contingents of other nobles. Despite being outnumbered, the high morale and bold strategy of Baldwin led to a surprise attack that crushed the Muslim army near Ramla. According to William of Tyre, a chronicler of the time, Baldwin fought with a courage that inspired everyone around him, carrying the relic of the Holy Cross on the battlefield. The victory at Montgisard solidified the king's image as a legitimate leader and demonstrated the effectiveness of the cooperation between the monarchy and the Templars. The relationship, however, was not limited to the battlefield. Baldwin institutionally supported the order, granting them lands, fortresses, and legal privileges. In return, the Templars ensured the military presence necessary to defend the fragile borders of the kingdom, especially the fortresses along the route between Jerusalem and the coast. There was also a spiritual dimension to this partnership. Baldwin saw the Templars as living examples of the Christian ideal of sacrifice and discipline, values he himself sought to embody despite his condition. For the Templars, serving a pious, courageous, and suffering king like Baldwin was a source of spiritual glory, strengthening their own mission before God. Still, not everything was absolute harmony. The kingdom's internal politics, dominated by noble factions in constant dispute, sometimes placed the king and the Templars in delicate positions. Some military campaigns failed due to disagreements between the crown and the military orders, especially when personal or political interests clashed with the unified defense strategy. But Baldwin, endowed with refined political intelligence, knew how to balance these tensions. Whenever necessary, he mediated disputes or reaffirmed his authority in a firm yet fair manner, maintaining the support of the Templars without yielding to all their demands. Thus, the partnership between Baldwin and the Order of the Temple remained one of the pillars of the fragile edifice that was the Latin Kingdom of Jerusalem during his short yet brilliant reign. The synergy between the leprous king and the warrior monks was essential to prolong the survival of the kingdom for a few more decades, even in the face of overwhelming threats. After the victory at Montgisard, Baldwin further consolidated the position of the Templars in the Kingdom of Jerusalem. Aware of the structural fragility of the kingdom, he sought to strengthen the border defenses with the direct support of the Order. The granting of fortresses such as Gaza and Durham to the Templars exemplified the mutual trust between the king and the warrior monks. These fortresses not only guarded strategic routes, but also symbolized the collaboration between secular authority and the religious ideal of the Crusade. With the advance of the disease, Baldwin saw his physical capacity deteriorate, but his mind remained sharp. He understood that to ensure the survival of the kingdom after his death, he needed to consolidate strong alliances. In this context, the Templars emerged not only as elite soldiers, but also as influential political actors. Many times, Baldwin consulted them on matters of state, recognizing their power of influence over the barons and the clergy. In 1180, Saladin resumed his campaigns against the Crusader kingdoms. Once again, the presence of the Templars was decisive. In the defenses of fortifications, such as the castle of Le Chastelet near the Jordan River, the Templars fought fiercely to stop the Muslim advance. Baldwin, even weakened, coordinated the defense strategies, valuing the military experience of the order. The respect the Templars held for Baldwin was uncommon. Unlike other Crusader kings who often saw the Templars as rivals in power, Baldwin cultivated a true partnership. This stance fostered a loyalty that would persist even after his death, influencing the Order's actions in the following years, especially during the turmoil that would come with the rise of Guy of Lusignan. However, with the worsening of leprosy and the need to appoint successors, tensions arose among the various political actors in the kingdom, including the Templars. Despite their support for Baldwin, the Order was pragmatic and knew it needed to ensure the continuity of Christian defense. At various times, the Templars found themselves divided between supporting the will of the king or protecting their own strategic interests. A notable episode occurred in 1183 when Baldwin, blind and nearly immobile, had to partially abdicate power, naming his nephew Baldwin V as co-king. The Templars, although loyal to the old king, quickly perceived the approaching instability and began to adjust their alliances, trying to preserve territorial stability as much as possible in the face of Saladin's threats. Despite the inevitable tensions and the changing circumstances, the relationship between Baldwin IV and the Templars remained marked by mutual respect. Baldwin knew that to resist the Muslim advance, he needed the discipline and unwavering faith of the Templars. In turn, the Order recognized in the young leprous king a rare combination of courage, piety, and strategic ability. This collaboration did not prevent the fall of Jerusalem a few years after Baldwin's death, but it delayed the collapse and left history with a luminous example of shared leadership and courage. The story of Baldwin IV and his partnership with the Templars is one of the most impressive narratives of courage, loyalty, and faith of the Middle Ages. Even weakened by leprosy, the king knew how to recognize the strategic and spiritual value of the Order of the Temple, forming an alliance that prolonged, for a few precious years, the Christian resistance in the Holy Land. His calm and determined leadership, combined with the tireless bravery of the Templars, created a legacy that would echo for generations. If you enjoyed learning more about this fascinating alliance between Baldwin IV and the Templars, don't forget to like this video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel to follow more incredible stories from the Middle Ages. See you next time.